I've attended a lot of events and conferences, and the truth is they can be painful if you don't have a plan. So today, I'm giving you the 3 things you need to think about when you're going to any event, any conference, to make the most of it and really stand out in the relationships you're building. Check it out. Welcome to the show. Today we are talking about those 3 things, 3 ways to think about going to conferences, going to events to really make the most out of them. Now, I don't know about you, but when I go to a conference, it can be a little awkward, especially the first time. If I've never been to an event before, I have so much anxiety because it's so much worse when you don't know anybody there. You don't know what to expect. You don't know the lay of the land. And you get worried that you're going to be walking around and talking to nobody, or you're going to be sitting there kind of looking at your phone because, you don't have someone to talk to. You don't have things on your agenda. You don't have meetings scheduled. So one of the best things to do when I'm going to an event for the first time is I map out 3 things. One is pre-event, during event is number 2, and number 3 is after the event. So pre-event, during event, and after event. I'll go through each of the things I've really done at conferences that have really made the difference. And not just in my experience, but what I believe affects how people experience me when I go to any meeting. Things that show that I might have charisma, be a good relationship builder, endear myself to the people at the conference. So simple things you could do. Let's start with the pre-work. Before any meeting, you have to research the meeting. So what does that mean? It means I go to the conference or meeting's website and I find out what are the things going on that day. If it's a multi-day event, what's going on each day. And the bigger the event, the more it's important for me to make an agenda. Figure out what are all the things I'm going to go to. Map out my day. And I don't have to stick to that map, but having a plan gives me a sense of purpose so that if I'm talking to someone and that conversation ends, I don't have to start over figuring out what's happening next. I can look at my agenda and say, okay, well, this is where I was supposed to be. I should head that direction. Or someone asks, where are you going? I don't say, I don't know. I have a sense of purpose as to what I'm doing next. So I look at my agenda for each day, or I know what's going on in the meeting, and I show up with a sense of purpose as to what I'm going to do when I'm there. And then that gives me room to be flexible and move things around and change. If it's a shorter event that might be just a couple hours, a meetup or something, again, I look at what's going on that day and I understand what the agenda is. They may say it's just a meet and greet, or it may be there's a little bit of learning and then there's time for networking at the end. That's great. I go in knowing what that topic is and maybe with a couple of questions, things I'm curious about that I want to learn about the thing that's being taught. I also do some research about who's going to the event. Knowing that I'm going to somewhere, I look to see, do I know anyone going? And if I don't, I look to see who is the leadership of this meeting. Who are the speakers at this meeting? And I reach out. And I mention, I'm going to this conference or I'm going to this meeting. And if we haven't met, I'd love to introduce myself and say hello if you're around. I might even reach out to other people who are attending the event if I see the attendee list, if we have something in common, if we're in the same city. I try to find common ground ahead of time. And if I reach out just to be like, hey, I noticed you're going to this meeting too. Just wanted to say hi ahead of time. Hoping to say hello in person. Looking forward to meeting everyone there. No one does this. And when you get there, if you knew 0 people beforehand, people will recognize you. And when you introduce yourself, you can mention, oh yeah, I reached out before the meeting. They'll say, oh yeah, I remember. And now you have a little bit of common ground. You have a way to break the ice that is more normalized than just stepping into a crowd and saying, hi, you don't know me, my name is Brandon. Doing the work beforehand lets them know that you care, that you're interested, and makes it easier for them to bring you in because they have a little bit of introduction before that. And guess what? If you do that, some of them might actually look you up online and get to know you a little bit better so they feel more comfortable with you when you show up. So in the pre-work, figure out the agenda, what's happening at the event, what you're curious about, where you're going to go, and figure out the people. So the where and the who. Figure out what's going on, where you're going to go, and who the people are that are there, and start to interact with them beforehand. And if there are thought leaders that you feel like they wouldn't talk to you, at least follow their content, follow their channels, connect with them online, still send them a message, don't expect a response. But then if they produce content, you can comment on those things. You could like their posts, you could comment on their articles, you could do all that ahead of time. So get to know what's going on in the event and do the work ahead of time. Don't just show up. Second thing, during the event is where a lot of the magic happens, right? This is where you show up and you're introducing yourself to people, you're being open, you're doing all the things, but you can build a plan for this as well. So while you're at the event and you have your agenda already set because you did that pre-work, figuring out where you want to spend your time and what type of people you're looking to talk to is part of what makes this special. So great things that you could be doing is figuring out, well, if there's food being served, where am I going to sit? Or if there's like a bar or somewhere where you wait in line to get food, don't be in a rush to get at the beginning of the line. Wait till the line forms a little bit, because standing in the line next to people is generally where some of these conversations happen. Finding where people are standing and gathering is an easy way to be pulled into natural conversations. It's harder when people are already in their groups, separated, to break into conversations. But if you're doing something in transition, where you're standing in a line for food, or you're sitting at a table where there's, a presentation is going to be had, or you get to choose a row to sit in before a presentation starts, get to the presentation 15 minutes early so that you can sit in a row that's next to people and talk to the people in the row. So having these couple of actions where you are purposely surrounding yourself with people and putting yourself in position to have conversation, very different than what most people do, which is we tend to try to get to the line early to beat the rush, or we wait for the line to die, or we sit in a spot in the conference hall that makes it easier for us to get up and leave, or to get to the bathroom, or we don't sit around people because we don't want to engage in a conversation. We are naturally afraid. So knowing that happens, telling yourself, I am purposefully going to put myself in a place where I am engaged to talk to people. And guess what? When you do that, when you put yourselves in positions to talk to people, they notice. And you can even start those conversations, and they're usually as scared as you are. So you liking them first, talking to them first, breaks the ice and makes them feel better. And they'll have a lot of gratitude that you've done the work for them. So take the time, put the effort in. And you want to make it easy for yourself? Try to stand next to people or surround yourself with people that you seem to like just based on looks. Now that sounds superficial. It's crazy. But if you surround yourself with people who give you a vibe and energy that you're attracted to, and I don't mean like physically attracted to, I just mean energy-wise, you're more likely to want to start a conversation with them. It's just easier. So what I do is every time I go to a conference, I try to find a couple people that I'm like, you're the kind of person that seems like I'd like to talk to you and hang out with you the whole conference. Based on their energy typically. For me, it's energy. And a little bit of age, to be honest. Someone like similar to my age tends to have things in common. They might have kids, they might be married, they might have started a business, whatever it might be. I look for things in common and an energy, a positive energy. Maybe someone who's a little chatty. I look for those things. I surround myself with those people. Now, if you get the opportunity to get to know some people who tend to be the leaders, then they'll introduce you to other people. So the next thing you can do while you're at the conference, in the middle of being there, is look for the people who tend to be surrounded by a lot of other people, the people who are the networkers, maybe the leaders of the organization, and introduce yourselves to them, because the people who are already connected have the most opportunity to connect you to other people. So when I'm there, those are the few things I do. I show up a little bit early to the meetings. I give myself an easy chance to talk to people by being where people are, where they're talking. And then I break the ice. I introduce myself first in a non-threatening way. If someone that's already talking, I'll just stand next to them until they look at me and acknowledge me. And I'll be like, oh, I don't want to interrupt. Just hope you don't mind me standing here. And then they'll invite you in. Or I get out there and I go around the people who seem more sociable. So Everyone's a little different. You might be, if it's a long conference for multiple days, you might be more of a morning person or a night person. They usually have like a free networking event. Go to it. Do things a little bit out of your comfort zone. All right, we've done pre-event, we've done during the event. The third thing you can do is the after event follow-up. So when I'm at the event, I get people's contact information. I should have mentioned this. Every time I meet someone, I do a quick like, oh, let me connect with you on LinkedIn. And I might even take a selfie so that when I'm talking to them, I have a reference for who they are because of the picture. And I can send them that picture on LinkedIn and say, it was so great meeting you. And now I've connected with them in LinkedIn. I have a picture to remember who they are. And I have a reminder to follow up later because I connected with them. So when I get home, I just look at my LinkedIn connections and see who are all my new ones. And now I know exactly who to follow up with. And I can send a message saying, it was so great meeting you. I hope we get to connect more. Thanks for chatting with me. Now, the trick is most people will stop there. If they even do that, they stop there. What I want you to do is look through their bios and their information and get to know them better online. Maybe you like a couple of things that they posted. And then follow up again, maybe in a week, set yourself a reminder and say, hey, by the way, I was following up with the people I've met at the conference, and we only got to chat for a couple of minutes at this thing. So would love to get to know you better if you're open for a chat for like 30 minutes, just to get to know each other and actually talk. So that could lead to a lot of things. This isn't an invitation for you to sell something or pitch something if you're a coach or you have a business. The idea is that you're just genuinely curious about the person's life, where they live, what they do for fun, what they do for work, things that they are excited about for the year. Just get to know them like a regular human being, I don't know, and ask them questions. And 30 minutes is generally long enough where it doesn't feel like a lot of pressure. 15 can be fine too. Just give yourself a window to talk to people and have a calendar link that you set up that isn't like a back and forth. They just click, say, hey, here's my calendar. Just pick a time that works for you. I use a thing called Calendly. There's a lot of calendar apps out there where you can set your availability and they can just pick a time. It saves so much back and forth. The goal is make it easy for people to connect with you and to reconnect with you. And how do you do that? Well, you do it by being the person who reaches to them and says, let's chat again. And by being the person that gives them the invitation that says, here's my calendar, just pick a time. And then when you actually have those conversations, you can be very welcoming. The goal is that every time you go somewhere, you're growing your network. And you never know when you're going to see these people again. If it's a recurring meeting, now you have someone again that at the next time, whether it's a monthly meeting or even annually. I see people now, I go to the same conferences each year sometimes, and I'll see them again the second time, third time. Now I have a group of people that makes the networking 10 times better because now I can bounce off of those people and talk to the people that they're meeting. All of this works together. So if you really want to maximize your events, there has to be this long-term view of doing the work up front, maximizing the time while you're there, but also knowing that in the follow-up, you're building relationships and then potentially going back to these same meetings so that that relationship isn't so forced to happen in those 10 minutes you're talking to someone. You can relieve that pressure by knowing that you're going to talk to them again after the conference, and maybe you're going to see them again at a future meeting. And now this relationship can be built over the course of a few months or even a few years. There are some people that I met 4 or 5 years ago that like by the third or fourth conference is when we actually had the time to get to know each other better and start to understand each other's worlds. And that relieving the pressure makes you your best self because you're not feeling so stressed to share everything about you and get everything you need to out of this person. You have the time to let that relationship breathe, which is what relationships need. You get to be your best self in a non-awkward way, having regular conversations with people because you did a little work beforehand, during, and afterward. That's my advice. I hope it helps you. Hope some people start that journey, gives you the confidence you need to take those steps. And I appreciate you listening. Subscribe, like, comment for more content like this, and we'll catch you next time.